Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be going over how you can use Addigy's compliance engine to enforce compliance across your Apple fleet. This tool lets you enforce both CIS, NIST, or your own custom requirements very easily across multiple computers, all while taking very little time to actually configure and deploy. So let's just jump into it. If we go over to Addigy here, so we're just going to go to Catalog, and then our compliance section down here. So in here we have a couple different sections. We have the Addigy built benchmarks, and we have rules. We'll start by going over the benchmarks. So these are what Addigy has built. And what is so cool about these is if you go in here and look at any one of these, you can see that there are 88 different rules, which are basically checks and remediations that Addigy has built for you and is keeping up for you. Now, before Addigy pushed all this part of it out and they just had the rules section, I went through and built most of these myself and had to go through testing them and trying to troubleshoot them when they didn't work and all that kind of stuff. And what Addigy did about 5 months later was took all that hard work out of it for me and built them. So now for each new release of the OS, you can see they have 12, 13, and 14 already, that they go and just develop these for you. So it saves me literally hours and hours of work every year, not to mention all the troubleshooting that goes into the day-to-day of me not being as good as they are at writing this stuff. So if you want to use one of these, all you have to do is do select. And if you are comfortable doing all of the rules, you can just push that out to a policy in a very familiar way. Or if you just want to do a subset of them, you can clone this. I can name it whatever you want. And then I can go through and pick and choose which of these rules I want or don't want to enforce. So the rules work in two different ways. Either they push out an MDM profile or they run a script to complete the action. So something like configuring the audit.log retention to 365 days, that would be something that's probably a bash script, whereas disabling PowerNap is probably done by an MDM profile. The nice thing is you don't really have to think about how it's doing it because Addigy is handling that for you. They also have the option, if you want to just monitor for these things and you don't want to remediate on them by pushing out those scripts or profiles, they do have monitoring only. Right now, the NIST are only in monitoring only instead of the monitor and remediate. So then let's say there's something that you want to do outside of these rules, something you want to be able to check for and either check and remediate or just check. That's where this rules section comes in, where you can create your own rules. So if we go through that, we do new here, you would just name that. And basically it uses two already existing Addigy tools. So facts and scripts. So let's say I want to do something outside of what Addigy is doing in their pre-built rules, and I want to make sure devices have a certain threshold of uptime or something like that. So I could find my custom fact for uptime in days and say that I want the uptime, if the uptime is greater than or equal to, let's just say 30, then you could have it automatically run a script. I don't have any safe scripts in here, but you could have it automatically run a script to reboot the computer. You would just click save on that, and then you'd be able to apply that to any of your benchmarks that you have built. Now, I will say you can't combine the pre-built benchmarks and the and custom benchmarks. So you would have to, you kind of develop two different sets depending on what you're doing there. But once you have those deployed, you can go from a device to device standpoint and you can see what is in compliance and what is out of compliance. The next step would be is if you're using something like Microsoft Conditional Access, you can implement that into this and say, hey, if a device is not in compliance, they don't get these resources. So that becomes really powerful if you're utilizing that as well. So I think for me, this is a really robust, well thought out tool that really allows me to make my fleet a lot more secure and my customers' fleets a lot more secure very easily without a whole lot of additional work as far as scripting and things like that on my end. And to me, that is just a huge benefit of Addigy building this out for me. And another example of how they are constantly doing things that I feel like make my life easier and take work off my plate, which is great. Thanks so much for watching this week's video. If you have any questions about Addigy Compliance, Addigy in general, or MDM, I'd love to help you and your business come up with a solution for those. I can be reached at the MacAdmin Slack channel at Marshall_CIT, via email marshall@cranstoninc.com or at cranstonit.com. Thanks for watching.